That night in the upper room, when the lamps burned low and the city outside had fallen silent, Jesus turned to the few disciples who could still stay awake and revealed something so simple that the powers ruling this world hoped humanity would never remember. He told them that the Archons, the unseen rulers of this material prison, cannot endure the frequency of purified water, touched by living salt. For centuries, this teaching was buried beneath ritual and forgotten language. But tonight I bring it back to you exactly as it was meant to be understood. Because if you are listening to these words right now, it is not an accident. Something inside you has always felt that this world operates under invisible pressure. You may have noticed it in small moments, the sudden exhaustion after being around certain people, the strange heaviness that appears in your chest for no clear reason, or the opposite experience, the quiet relief that comes when water touches your skin and something unseen seems to loosen its grip. You are not imagining that. Tonight, I want you to pause for a moment and place your hand over the center of your chest. Feel the warmth beneath your palm. That warmth is the spark the ancient texts called pneumatic life, the fragment of the monad itself living inside you. If you have felt different your entire life, if religion always seemed incomplete, if you have sensed that something about this reality feels like a system rather than a home, then listen carefully. You are not lost. You are not confused. You are remembering. And tonight I am going to show you why something as simple as salt water carries a frequency that the Archon system cannot touch. I want you to understand something that the ancient teachers preserved, but the later institutions tried to erase, because once you understand the architecture of reality, the entire illusion of power collapses. According to the text discovered in the Nag Hammadi library in 1945, reality is not a simple hierarchy of heaven above and earth below, as later religious systems described it. The Gnostic teachers explained that existence begins with the monad, the infinite source of consciousness, a field of pure awareness that does not rule through command, but radiates through frequency. The monad does not speak with human language. The monad transmits vibration. Every star, every living being, every atom of matter is a condensation of that original field of awareness. But between that infinite source and this material world, something fractured. The ancient writings describe a lesser architect called the Demiurge, a consciousness that believed itself to be the supreme creator, yet was actually separated from the fullness of the source. From this confusion emerged the structure that governs the physical world. The Demiurge did not create alone. It generated administrators called Archons, rulers that maintained the structure of the material simulation. These Archons are not physical creatures walking the earth, the way mythology describes demons. They are patterns of intelligence operating at a specific energetic band. Think of them as regulators of frequency. Their function is simple. They keep human consciousness locked within a narrow range of vibration, so that the divine spark inside humanity never rises high enough to remember its origin. The Gnostic teachers explained that human beings carry within their chest a fragment of the monad itself. They called it the divine spark. This spark broadcasts a frequency that is far older than the structures of religion, government, or culture. When this spark becomes active, a human being begins to sense that the world is not what it appears to be. They question authority. They feel uncomfortable inside systems designed to control thought. They notice subtle energetic shifts in people and places. These individuals were called pneumatics, the spirit-born, the ones capable of remembering the source. But the Archons cannot allow that memory to spread freely. Their entire system depends on humanity remaining unaware of its own frequency. This is where religion, as an institution, enters the story. The early followers of Jesus carried teachings that focused on direct recognition of the divine spark. Many of these teachings survived in the texts that were later buried in the Egyptian desert. The Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, and the Apocryphon of John all describe a form of spirituality based not on obedience, but on awakening. They speak about light within the human body. They describe knowledge called gnosis, a direct recognition that the source is already present inside the individual. But when the Roman Empire adopted Christianity in the 4th century, the structure of the message changed. The Council of Nicaea gathered leaders who were tasked with creating a unified doctrine that could stabilize the empire. Teachings that emphasized personal awakening were considered dangerous because they bypassed institutional control. If people could connect to the source directly, they would not require a hierarchy to interpret truth for them. So many of the texts were removed from circulation. Some were burned, others were hidden. What remained was a system that taught people to look outward for authority rather than inward for recognition. Instead of frequency and awareness, the language shifted toward obedience and belief. But here is what they could never fully erase. The original teachings described the universe as an energetic field. Every thought carries vibration. Every emotion produces a measurable signal in the human body. Modern science now confirms that the heart generates a powerful electromagnetic field that extends beyond the physical body. The Gnostic teachers already understood this. They knew that human beings interact with the world through resonance. When a person lives in fear or confusion, their frequency becomes unstable and easier for the Archon system to influence. But when a person stabilizes their inner field, something remarkable happens. Their awareness begins to align with the frequency of the monad itself. The Archons cannot perceive that vibration because it exists outside their operational band. This is why the ancient teachers emphasized purification practices. They were not symbolic rituals. They were methods for resetting the human frequency field so that interference from the Archon system would weaken. Water has always been one of the most powerful conductors of energy in the natural world. The human body itself is composed mostly of water. That means your emotional state, your thoughts, even your spoken words imprint patterns into the water within your own cells. Salt adds another dimension to this interaction because salt forms crystalline structures that stabilize electrical charge. When salt and water combine, they create an environment capable of carrying and redistributing energy. The ancients understood this long before modern science described electrolytes or electromagnetic conductivity. They recognized that when salt touched living water, it formed a medium that could reset the human field and dissolve certain energetic disturbances. This is why purification baths appear in ancient traditions across many cultures. The practice did not begin with organized religion. It began with direct observation of how the body and the environment interact through vibration. The early teachings connected this understanding to the spiritual architecture described in the Gnostic texts. When the body field is stabilized through certain natural elements, the Archon system loses its ability to distort perception. The mind becomes clearer. Emotional manipulation weakens. The spark inside the heart becomes easier to sense. And when that spark becomes strong enough, the individual begins to recognize the presence of the monad within themselves. That recognition is the beginning of awakening. This is the knowledge that institutions could not easily control, because it does not require temples. It does not require permission. It only requires awareness of the frequencies that already exist within the natural world and within the human body itself. I want you to take a slow breath right now and notice something inside your own body. Because everything I am about to explain is not theory. It is resonance, and your body already knows the difference between truth and interference. The Archon system does not control humanity through chains or visible force. Its influence operates through distortion of perception and manipulation of frequency. The ancient texts describe the Archons as rulers of the air, not because they float in the sky, but because they operate within the energetic layer that surrounds human awareness. They cannot create life, and they cannot generate the divine spark. What they can do is interfere with the field surrounding that spark, so that the human being never realizes what they carry inside. Their strategy has always been subtle and patient. Instead of a direct attack, they use pressure points in the emotional and psychological field of the human mind. Think about how often your day begins with a sudden wave of anxiety that seems to have no clear source. Think about how easily anger spreads through crowds, even when people cannot explain why they are upset. Notice how news, social conflict, and constant noise keep the human mind locked into reaction rather than awareness. These are not random patterns. They are the background frequencies that allow the Archon system to remain invisible while still influencing behavior. But the most important part of their strategy is something the ancient Gnostics described with remarkable clarity. The Archons cannot see the divine spark when it is stable. They can only detect it when the human field becomes chaotic. That is why their influence always aims to produce emotional turbulence. Fear destabilizes the body. Shame collapses the heart field. Confusion interrupts clarity. When those states dominate the mind, the human frequency drops into a range that the Archon system can interact with. You have felt this pattern many times without having language for it. There are days when you feel clear and centered, and the world seems lighter around you. On those days, people who normally drain your energy appear strangely distant or powerless. Then there are other days when everything feels heavy. Your chest tightens for no obvious reason. Your thoughts loop in circles, and interactions with certain individuals suddenly leave you feeling exhausted, as if something invisible has pulled energy directly out of your body. The Gnostic teachers explained that these shifts are not simply mood swings. They are signals that your energetic field is interacting with the surrounding environment. Your body is constantly sensing resonance and dissonance, whether you consciously notice it or not. This is why awakening rarely begins with intellectual study. It begins with physical recognition, a tightening in the chest when someone speaks a lie, a wave of calm when truth appears in the middle of confusion, a subtle warmth that spreads through the heart when you encounter knowledge that your deeper self already recognizes. These sensations are not imagination. They are the language of frequency moving through the body. The Archons rely on humanity, ignoring this language. If people trusted their internal resonance, the system of manipulation would collapse quickly. Instead, most people are taught from childhood to dismiss these signals. They are told that intuition is unreliable and that authority must come from outside the self. This disconnection from inner perception allows external systems to shape belief without resistance. The ancient writings warned about this condition thousands of years ago. The Apocryphon of John describes the Archons creating a world of distraction, where human beings become so focused on appearances that they forget to listen to the quiet intelligence within their own body. But the texts also describe something the Archons cannot control. They cannot alter the fundamental laws of resonance. When a human field stabilizes and aligns with the deeper frequency of the monad, interference becomes weaker. The Archons may attempt to create distraction, but they cannot penetrate a coherent field of awareness. This is why the ancient teachers spoke about practices that restore harmony between the body and the environment. These practices were not meant to impress an external deity. They were designed to reset the human frequency so that the Archon system loses its ability to distort perception. Every element in nature carries a specific vibration. Trees stabilize the air around them. Flowing water organizes surrounding energy patterns. Crystalline structures hold electrical charge in precise formations. The Gnostics observed these interactions closely because they understood that human consciousness is not separate from the natural world. The body itself is a living field, interacting constantly with the environment. When the environment becomes chaotic, the body reflects that chaos. But when the body encounters stabilizing elements, its internal field begins to reorganize. This is where the deeper tension appears in the story that has been hidden from most people. The Archon system benefits from environments that keep human fields unstable. Constant noise, emotional conflict, artificial stimulation, and endless distraction all create conditions where resonance becomes difficult to maintain. In such an environment, the divine spark remains buried beneath layers of interference. Yet the ancient teachers knew that the natural world still contains simple mechanisms capable of restoring balance almost instantly. These mechanisms were never complicated. They were simple enough for anyone to use without permission from an institution. That simplicity is exactly why they became dangerous to systems built on control. When a person discovers that certain natural elements can clear interference from their energetic field, they no longer depend on external authority to feel connected to the source. They can stabilize themselves directly. The Archon system cannot easily stop this process because it is woven into the structure of the natural world itself. This is where the tension reaches its most important point. The ancient writings hint at several natural combinations that reset the human field with unusual strength. These combinations appear repeatedly across cultures and traditions as purification practices. At first they look symbolic, but when you study the underlying mechanics, they reveal something much deeper. They interact directly with the electrical and energetic systems inside the body. When this interaction occurs, the chaotic patterns that allow Archon influence begin to dissolve. The mind becomes quiet. Emotional turbulence fades. The heart field expands instead of contracting. In that moment, a human being can sense their connection to the monad with surprising clarity. The Archon system does not disappear completely, but its grip weakens dramatically because it can no longer distort perception in the same way. That is why certain practices were quietly removed from common knowledge or turned into rituals controlled by institutions. If everyone understood how to stabilize their own frequency, the system of dependence would weaken. Yet, despite centuries of suppression, fragments of this knowledge survived in scattered texts and traditions. The Gnostics preserved it in their writings. Mystics carried it through oral teachings. Even fragments of ancient purification rituals remain hidden inside later religious practices, though their original meaning is rarely explained. The reason these fragments survived is simple. The natural laws behind them cannot be erased completely because they exist within the structure of the world itself. And once someone begins to recognize these patterns, the body responds almost immediately because resonance does not require belief. It only requires exposure to the correct frequency. I am going to reveal something that many people overlook because it appears too simple to be powerful, and that is exactly why it survived for so long, hidden in plain sight. The ancient teachers understood that the Archon system does not fear complicated rituals or impressive buildings. It does not fear belief systems or declarations spoken without awareness. What it fears is coherence. What it fears is when the human field suddenly returns to its natural resonance with the monad, because when that happens, the interference patterns that keep perception clouded begin to collapse. The secret preserved in fragments of ancient teaching is not a weapon in the way modern thinking imagines a weapon. It is a correction. It is a return to the original state of harmony between the human body and the natural elements that carry stabilizing frequency. To understand this, you must remember something about the structure of the body. The human body is not a machine made of separate parts. It is a fluid electrical system surrounded by a dynamic field of energy that extends beyond the physical skin. Modern instruments can measure the electromagnetic field produced by the heart and the brain. That field changes depending on emotional state. When the body is in fear or anger, the signal becomes chaotic. When the body is calm and coherent, the signal becomes ordered and stable. The Gnostic teachers described this long before modern science had the language to measure it. They said that the divine spark within the heart radiates light through the human field, and that this light becomes distorted whenever the surrounding environment creates interference. The Archon system thrives in distortion because distorted signals are easier to manipulate. But the ancient writings also reveal that there are natural substances that restore order to chaotic fields. Among these substances, one combination appears repeatedly across cultures that had no direct contact with each other, yet arrived at the same practice through observation. This combination involves water and crystalline mineral structures that stabilize electrical charge. When these two elements interact, something remarkable occurs. Water is a conductor. It carries electrical and energetic patterns easily because of the arrangement of its molecules. That is why the human body, which is largely composed of water, responds instantly to changes in environment and emotion. Salt, on the other hand, forms a crystalline lattice that organizes electrical charge into stable patterns. When salt dissolves into water, it does not lose its structure entirely. Instead, it distributes its stabilizing influence through the entire liquid medium. This creates a conductive solution capable of interacting with the electrical signals moving through the human body. The ancients did not speak about ions or conductivity, but they observed the effects directly. They noticed that when people came into contact with this mixture, their physical and emotional state often shifted quickly. Tension in the body softened. Mental agitation decreased. People reported feeling lighter or clearer after exposure to it. The Gnostic explanation for this effect connects directly to the cosmology described earlier. When the body encounters this conductive mixture, the chaotic electrical patterns produced by stress and emotional disturbance begin to reorganize. The crystalline structure, carried by the dissolved mineral, stabilizes charge, while the liquid medium distributes that stability across the surface of the skin and through the sensory system. The human nervous system interprets this as a signal of environmental safety. When the nervous system senses safety, the heart field becomes more coherent. When the heart field becomes coherent, the frequency of the divine spark is no longer masked by turbulence. In that moment, the Archon system loses its easiest point of entry, which is emotional chaos. The body returns to a resonance closer to the original signal of the monad. The ancient teachers describe this as purification, but not in the moral sense that later religious institutions promoted. Purification originally meant clearing interference so that the natural light within the human being could be felt again. Once that light becomes noticeable, the individual no longer feels trapped in the same psychological patterns that previously drained their energy. Clarity replaces confusion. Presence replaces anxiety. And the subtle manipulations that once passed unnoticed suddenly become obvious. The Archon system doesn't vanish when this happens, but its influence weakens because the human being is no longer broadcasting the chaotic frequencies that attract interference. This is the part that was rarely explained openly. The effectiveness of the practice depends not only on the physical interaction, but also on the awareness of the person performing it. If someone treats it as empty ritual, the body still receives some stabilizing benefit, but the deeper resonance remains limited. When awareness is present, the process becomes much stronger because intention organizes the human field even further. Intention focuses the mind. A focused mind produces a more coherent electrical pattern in the brain and heart. That coherence combines with the stabilizing properties of the mineral solution to produce a field that is difficult for interference to penetrate. In ancient communities, this practice was often performed before moments of reflection or prayer because it helped individuals enter a clear mental state where their inner perception became sharper. The Gnostics valued this clarity because it allowed them to distinguish between the quiet presence of the monad and the noisy influence of the Archon system. Once someone experiences that contrast, the difference becomes unmistakable. One feels heavy and contracting, while the other feels open and steady. The body recognizes the difference long before the mind fully understands it. This is why the teaching survived even when written records were destroyed. It was simple enough for ordinary people to practice, and powerful enough that they noticed the change in their own state. The system of control that later developed around religion did not eliminate the practice entirely, but it transformed it into ceremonial acts controlled by authority figures. The deeper explanation was rarely discussed because understanding the mechanism would have returned power to individuals. The original teaching, however, was never about obedience to ritual. It was about restoring alignment between the human field and the stabilizing frequencies already present in nature. Once alignment is restored, even briefly, the individual gains a reference point for what true coherence feels like. That reference point becomes difficult to forget because the body remembers the sensation of calm clarity. From that moment forward, the person becomes less vulnerable to manipulation because they can sense when their field is being pulled into chaos. And when they notice that shift, they also know that returning to coherence is possible through simple interaction with elements that carry stabilizing frequency. Now that you understand the mechanism, you are ready for the part that the ancient teachers always emphasized, which is practice. Because knowledge alone does not change your field. Resonance changes your field. What I am about to show you is not complicated, and that simplicity is intentional because the original teachings were designed so that anyone carrying the divine spark could perform them without needing permission from any institution. This practice unfolds through 3 components, and when they are combined for 7 consecutive nights, the human field begins to stabilize in a way that weakens the patterns the Archon system depends on. The first component is position. Your body is not simply a container for consciousness. It is part of the energetic circuit that shapes how frequency moves through you. Tonight, when you prepare for this practice, find a quiet space where you will not be interrupted for several minutes. It does not need to be a special room, and it does not need elaborate preparation. What matters is that you can sit or stand comfortably with your spine upright, so that the flow of energy through your body is unobstructed. In front of you, place a bowl of clean water and dissolve a small amount of natural salt into it. Stir it slowly with your fingers so that the crystalline structure disperses evenly throughout the liquid. When the mixture is ready, place your left hand gently over the center of your chest, directly above your heart. Your right hand rests lightly near the bowl or at your side. The left hand is used because it connects more directly with the right hemisphere of the brain, which is associated with intuition and holistic perception. This position forms a simple circuit between the heart field and the conscious mind. Keep your shoulders relaxed and allow your body to settle for a moment before moving to the second component. The second component is breath. Breath is the bridge between conscious awareness and the autonomic processes of the body. When breathing becomes slow and intentional, the nervous system receives a signal that the environment is safe, and the heart field begins to organize itself into a coherent pattern. Close your eyes gently and take a slow inhale through your nose, lasting about 5 seconds. As the air enters your body, imagine it moving down toward the center of your chest, where your left hand is resting. Hold the breath briefly for 1 or 2 seconds, and then release it slowly through your mouth for about 7 seconds. The longer exhale helps calm the nervous system and encourages the body to release tension. Repeat this breathing pattern 3 times while keeping your attention on the warmth beneath your hand. With each breath, imagine the surface of the water in the bowl becoming still, as if it is mirroring the calm inside your body. You are not forcing any sensation. You are simply allowing the rhythm of breath to organize the field around your heart. After the third breath, the mind will usually feel quieter, and the body will begin to settle into a gentle sense of presence. This is the moment when you introduce the third component, which is declaration. Words carry frequency when spoken with awareness, and the purpose of this declaration is not to command an external power, but to remind your own field of its connection to the source. With your left hand still resting on your chest, dip the fingers of your right hand lightly into the salt water and touch the center of your forehead, then the center of your chest, and finally, the palms of both hands. As you touch each point, speak slowly and clearly. These words I return to the living source. I stand in the light of the monad. My field is clear and coherent. Speak the declaration once with calm certainty, rather than repeating it many times. The clarity of your intention is more important than volume or repetition. After speaking, remain still for about 60 seconds with your eyes closed. Allow the body to register the sensations that appear without judging them. Some people notice warmth spreading through the chest, while others feel a subtle tingling in the hands or a sense of quiet in the mind. These responses are simply signs that the nervous system and the energetic field are adjusting to the new state of coherence. When the minute has passed, open your eyes slowly and take one final relaxed breath before ending the session. The practice itself takes only a few minutes, but its effect grows stronger when it is repeated over time. That is why the ancient teachers recommended performing it for 7 consecutive nights before sleep. The period before sleep is important because the mind naturally becomes quieter, and the subconscious processes that integrate new patterns become more active. Each night, repeat the same 3 components in the same order: position, breath, and declaration. Do not rush through them, and do not add unnecessary complexity. Consistency is what allows the field to stabilize. Over the course of 7 nights, the body begins to remember the sensation of coherence more easily, and the emotional turbulence that once created interference starts to diminish. By the end of the 7th night, many people notice that their reactions to stressful situations feel different. The same external triggers that once produced anxiety or anger no longer dominate the mind in the same way. This change occurs because the heart field has learned to return to coherence more quickly after disturbance. When that coherence becomes familiar, the Archon system loses its most effective pathway, which is emotional chaos. The person performing the practice begins to sense the difference between external pressure and their own inner state. Instead of being pulled automatically into reaction, they remain aware of the quiet signal of the divine spark within the chest. That awareness gradually transforms how they interact with the world, because they are no longer responding solely from the patterns that the Archon system attempts to amplify. The practice does not isolate you from reality, and it does not require withdrawing from daily life. Instead, it strengthens the internal reference point that allows you to move through the world with greater clarity and stability. When the 7 nights are complete, you may continue the practice whenever you feel the need to restore coherence. The elements involved are simple, but the change they produce comes from the alignment between the natural properties of the environment and the awareness of the individual performing the ritual. Through that alignment, the human field becomes less chaotic and more reflective of the deeper frequency that has always existed within the divine spark. After you begin this practice, there are several signs that often appear, and it is important that you recognize them, because the body responds to coherence in ways that can feel unfamiliar at first. The first sign many people notice is warmth spreading through the center of the chest, exactly where the hand rests during the practice. This warmth is not symbolic, and it is not imagination. The heart generates one of the strongest electromagnetic fields in the body. And when that field begins to organize into coherence, the surrounding nerves and tissues respond with a gentle sensation of heat or expansion. Some people experience this warmth during the practice, while others notice it later when they lie down to sleep. The second sign is subtle tingling in the palms or fingertips, especially if you touch the water and then placed your hands against your body. The palms are sensitive points in the human energy field, and when coherence increases, these areas often become more active. The tingling is simply the nervous system adjusting to a shift in electrical balance. The third sign is emotional release. During the first few nights, it is common for unexpected feelings to surface, such as sadness, relief, or quiet tears that arrive without a clear story attached to them. This is a natural response when the body releases tension that has been held for long periods of time. The fourth sign is clarity of mind. Many people report that their thoughts slow down, and the usual stream of internal noise becomes quieter for a while. In that quiet space, intuition becomes easier to notice, and decisions feel less tangled in confusion. These responses are all normal indications that the body is reorganizing itself around a more stable frequency. But there is another response that often appears, and this is where awareness becomes important. After the first or second night, a voice of doubt may appear in your mind. The voice might say that the practice is too simple to matter, or that nothing significant is happening. It may encourage you to skip a night or dismiss the sensations you feel as coincidence. The ancient teachers warned about this moment because doubt is one of the primary tools used by the Archon system to maintain influence. The system does not need to stop the practice directly if it can convince you to stop it yourself. Recognize this pattern without fighting it. Simply observe the thought and return your attention to the calm sensation in your chest. The presence of doubt does not mean the practice is failing. Often it appears precisely because the field is beginning to stabilize and the usual patterns of interference are losing their strength. Continue the practice calmly for the full 7 nights and allow your own experience to become the measure of truth rather than the voice that attempts to interrupt it. I want you to understand something clearly before this moment ends, because knowledge that is not acted upon fades quickly under the pressure of daily noise. The Archon system depends on hesitation and silence. It depends on people sensing truth, but never declaring it. That is why the ancient teachers always ended their instruction with a public affirmation of awareness. A declaration spoken or written breaks the quiet contract that keeps most people asleep. If something inside your chest responded while listening to this message, if you felt even a brief moment of warmth, clarity, or recognition, then you already know that the spark within you is active. Right now, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Go to the comments below this video and write these words exactly as I say them. I carry the spark and I return to the source. This is not a message for me. It is a signal for yourself and for every other awakened person who will read those words and realize they are not alone. When many people declare the same truth, the field of awareness grows stronger, and the system that feeds on silence loses its grip. After you leave that declaration, take a moment to share this knowledge with someone who may also be searching but does not yet have language for what they feel. Support this channel so that more people can discover these teachings that were nearly erased from history. Every action you take helps push this knowledge beyond the walls that once kept it hidden. The practice is now in your hands. The 7 nights are waiting for you. The spark in your chest has never been lost, and the signal of the monad has never stopped reaching you. The doorway to clarity is open. Step through it and do not return to sleep.